Back live tonight. Now, let's take a look at this. Cosatu in the Western Cape wants Labour Minister Thulas Nxesi to enforce a ban on transportation of farm workers on open trucks. It follows a fatal accident yesterday in the village of Philadelphia near Durbanville, where 3 workers lost their lives and many others were left injured. For more on that conversation, we're joined now by Western Cape Cosatu Secretary Malvern De Bruyn. Malvern, good to have you, and thank you very much for coming on. What does the law say around the transportation of farm workers?
Good evening, and good evening to the listeners and viewers. As Cosatu, I think maybe we should go back into what happened yesterday, where 3 farm workers lost their lives. And as Cosatu, we've raised this issue with the minister, and even last year in January, the same thing happened on the farm road near Worcester. And we've made appeals to the minister to seriously consider the banning of workers being transported on open trucks. And unfortunately, to date, nothing has been happening. Nothing has been done. We've even engaged the provincial government on the same matter.
Yeah.
And all of them that shared our sentiments, but unfortunately, nothing has happened. And Cosatu is now of the view that the minister should speed up the process to enforce the banning of people being transported on trucks. And that's an issue that's been happening for years in the Western Cape.
So you're saying of all the laws, the Road Traffic Act, the National Land Transport Act, the Road Accident Fund Act, the Compensation of Occupational Injuries and Disease Act, none of those completely ban the transportation of farm workers, especially on freight trucks of some sort?
At this stage, there's nothing tangible, there's nothing on paper that basically can force farm owners to abandon that process. But what is so sad is that yesterday morning when we visited the scene of the accident, one of the farm managers came to the scene, and he was more worried about us taking photos of his truck than worried about people that have lost their lives. And people that were injured, close to 70 people that were injured. Some of them are still in hospital, and I think that is a concern. And while the provincial government is aware of the killings on a yearly basis, they're also not willing to take on farmers because they are here to protect the farmers and are not worried about the well-being of the farm workers.
Well, could it be that the vehicle did not meet the terms of Regulation 247, which says that, 1, the truck must not be overloaded, but 2, that the vehicle must be covered to a minimum height of 350 millimeters above where people are sitting, or 900 millimeters if a person is standing, to prevent passengers from falling off? How did you find the truck to have been built?
There was no barriers. It was just a normal flatbed truck with a half-a meter sides. So there was nothing that could even protect workers. And I think trucks are not designed to transport human beings. They are designed to transport goods. And for how long will government allow farm owners and even construction companies owners to transport human beings like animals on an open truck, and even overloading those trucks? And we've seen the roads, a gravel road, and there was a strong possibility that the guy could have maybe speeded on that road. But at this stage, we can't say what really caused the truck. But it was really a sad picture when we arrived there yesterday morning.
Currently, I mean, you have a provision that says if a vehicle in which employees are transported is involved in an accident, employees who are injured or dependents of the deceased workers may claim from the Compensation or for Occupational Injuries Disease Act. I mean, do you think that in itself would make employers, I suppose, not to really feel the pain of transporting workers on such vehicles, because ultimately they can just send them to go claim from the national government for the accident?
Yeah, that's correct, and I think that's what they are depending on. That it's not their responsibility if they died on those trucks that they are providing. I think ultimately there should be a total ban, not giving these farm owners options to choose what kind of transport to use, because they will never stop using trucks, because for them it's about saving money, while they can engage with Labour, they can engage the taxi association so that we can sit around the table to find a solution to provide transport to these vulnerable farm workers. But for them, that's not an issue. They just want to cut costs for those workers to produce, not worrying about their own well-being.
Yeah. So, I mean, how are you putting pressure then on the minister? The farmers, I suppose, they are aware of their legal position, I beg your pardon, relating to the transportation of farm workers. There are rules that are in place. They've found a way of working the rules. Some are overlapping, some are sitting in other acts. How do you plan to put pressure on the minister to consolidate this at least and come up with one position so that everybody is uniform in terms of how they address this?
Yeah, the first thing that we've done was to send communication to the Human Rights Commission, and we've also appealed to them to investigate, because we are of the view that workers' rights were infringed because people were killed, some were injured. So we want them to investigate this particular matter, and we also want the law enforcement agencies to investigate this matter and done it thoroughly, so that whoever is found guilty, that the law should take its course. And even that we were of the view that farm owners must also take responsibility for what happened, because they know that by transporting people on that kind of transport, it's a major risk. So our next follow-up step is also to engage the National Minister of Labour. We will also engage the provincial premier and also City of Cape Town's mayor, because they must also come to the party, because what we've seen in this province is that they are more out there to protect the interests of farm owners, and they're not worried about farm workers. Because we raised an issue with them last week, we spoke to the members, the MPRs in this provincial legislature, and they've said no, they're working on a draft document to ban this kind of transport, but nothing's happened so far. So what it basically means, we need now to engage again all three spheres of government to find a solution to make sure that we can't get no more people dying on those roads.
Yeah. A case of culpable homicide, I believe, Malvern, has since been opened. Is this against the driver or against the actual employer?
At this stage, the investigation is basically against the driver. But we want that investigation to be extended to see how we can keep the farm owners also liable for what happened. I think that's how far that should happen. And I think we should also explore the option of legal action, a civil claim against a farmer, so that we can make an example of one of these farm owners for them to stop using open trucks, to transport workers, because our workers are not animals. They are not goods to be transported in such a fashion. Whether it's winter, whether it's summer, the same thing is happening. So we need to find other ways to put pressure on the owners as well, to keep them personally liable if this kind of thing is happening. I think we will engage more people, even bring in civil society to run campaigns against these farm owners that are abusing the system by not listening, by not worrying about the well-being of workers.
Malvern, appreciate your time. Thanks so much for coming on. Malvern De Bruyn, he speaks for Cosatu in the Western Cape.